Let's see where we're going next. Next slide is talking about Kuhio. We really need to understand the gift that we have, right? And what he did. So I like to, when I actually looked at when he lived, see these green lines? The first line is when he was born, and the second line is when he died. And if you look at that red line coming down, this is Native Hawaiian population from before contact, 1,000,000 people, down to where he was living, and it went down to 20,000. And this is what he was facing. And all his life, I knew he was Ali'i line, but I didn't realize that he was orphaned when he was 13 years old, both his parents. So he got hanai'd by Queen Kapiolani, and who's the husband, King Kalakaua. And so that's his brothers and him got hanai'd right into that line. So he was the heir apparent. Got sent to schools, then he was socialized so that he could take the throne. He was 22 years old, and the illegal overthrow of our kingdom happened. So he was like raised in this concept that he's going to have this kuleana as ali'i, and then right when he's ready to take this position, there's no longer a kingdom for him to be working for, I guess you could say. But that didn't stop him. He still had kuleana, because what he's looking at is our people are dying. And really, when you look at the trajectory, extinction of the race was like a possibility. That's what they were facing. And he looks at the slums, and they're all Hawaiians there, because they got pushed out of their lo'i, and everybody went down to the bright lights thinking promise, and they ended up in these slums. So he's trying to address this. And he pulls together his cadre of Hawaiians that are well-to-do, that can see the problem. And so they form this hui, and they go out and try to help the people. And they research, like, what's happening? And so they're finding out that, bottom line, the only way that they're going to be able to do this is return Hawaiians to the land. That was the concept. That's a whole theory behind rehabilitation. Put them back on the land, the DNA going to kick in, and they're going to be able to get back on their feet again. That's the theory that they're operating with. So, he believed about the profound connection to land, and that he needed land. Now, the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act establishes a land base in perpetuity. This is important because private property was created, people had land but were losing land, they didn't understand. So this trust made sure that you couldn't give away the lands. It stayed there. So this trust in perpetuity we have, Hawaiian homelands. Go ahead. So, he worked, I've been reading the hearings documents, so it's so unreal what he had to endure, to go over there in the ship and actually be there and nobody understanding what's happening in Hawaii. But he got the bill passed. Go ahead. He got the bill passed against all odds. And they even, on top of that, put a provision that they had to have a pilot project in Molokai. And if it wasn't for the farmers at Kalamaula, we wouldn't be here today. So against all odds, they got it passed, and that's why we're here today. So it's really a gift from Kuhio. It's like the insight, the foresight that we need to return our people back to the land. So I hope that when you look at cultivation as a requirement, that you remember this, that this was the whole idea. You're putting yourself into the land as part of that give and take process. There's one last thing I want to mention about the act before we move on. Everybody knows it's an act of Congress, right? But it's not just an act of Congress. This act is so special. It was a condition of admission to the Union. So the Admissions Act that admitted the state of Hawaii to the United States required that the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act be a provision in the state constitution. That's the only way they're going to do it. It was a condition of statehood. So that's why when you look at our Constitution, it has in Article 12, Section 1, adopt the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act as the law of the state. And in Section 2, it says that the state and its people, so not just state agencies, not just the governor, right? Not just the legislature, and its people, all of us are committed to faithfully implement this act. So this has special standing, this act, not just any act of Congress. It was a condition of statehood, and it is part of our state constitution. Okay, go ahead. So this homestead area, you saw what Talbot was showing you. This red area is actually that area where the lots are being divided up. But our Pana ewa lands are extensive, right? These are all the Hawaiian homelands in Pana ewa. And in our planning process, we have them zoned into different zones. So here's the color coding. You know, we have industrial acres, we have commercial acres, of course, you know, the mall and everything. We have community facilities, those blue areas. We have, let's see, 300 residential lessees. And you can't see it, but it's these small lots, right, that are existing. We also have agricultural lessees here. So we have 284 agricultural lessees that are in the bigger lots over here, right? These lots that already exist. And so I just wanted to point that out, the regional context that you're going to be in. So right now, what we're coming in with is the new subsistence ag lots. That's basically 11 acres, and it's going to produce 16 lessees, 16 lots. Okay, that's going to add to this. I wanted to mention the Keaukaha Pana ewa Farmers Association, because they're the ones that represent the farmers, the ag guys. I think that would be the one that if you guys wanted to check out and work with. Maile Uai is the president. She was supposed to be here, but actually they have this other meeting happening today. But they've been excellent in getting grants and really moving their piece. So they have a 10-acre piece right here, this asterisk here, right across from Home Depot is their farmers market. Actually, they're calling it a resiliency hub. And that's where they have different programs, and you know, they're doing a whole agroforestry thing there. I mean, they're really doing some really neat things. So hopefully you guys can hook up with them. They're a good group. And so the other thing that we wanted to cover is our other kind of assistance. Oh, yeah, that was a lot. The other kind of assistance, this is information about the Keaukaha Pana ewa Farmers Association. Maile Uai is the president, but Elizabeth Matsuoka has a email address here. But also they have a good website. I checked it out, so you can see what they're doing there. Before, when we handed out ag leases, we should just hand it out and say, good luck, see ya, right? See ya, good luck. That doesn't work. So actually right now, we're actually trying to provide more assistance to the ag lessees. And so we have had this program with the UHCTAR, which is great because one person can access the whole of UH resources and bring it to our people as they need. So I'm going to introduce Kirsten Akohoshi, who is our current DHL CTAR person. We actually pay for this position, and she is housed in CTAR, but her whole kuleana is working with homestead lessees, the ag lessees. And she's on Big Island, so you will get to know her, and she has a short presentation.
Oh, this is Julie.
Oh, one more. Okay, yeah, go back to that. I'm sorry. We had to juggle some slides on a little on border. Okay, go back to the subsistence thing. It's interesting because if you look for a definition of subsistence, because I figured somebody's going to ask, what is the definition? So instead of having a set definition, what we do have is like characteristics. Like, how do you know subsistence? Well, it's going to be a smaller area, right? What is the agricultural focus? If you're a commercial farmer, you're going to say, what crop can I grow to make money? Subsistence, your question is going to be, what does my family like to eat? Right? And that's kind of like how you would look at your land. You know, it's an integrated system. You would have different crops, different foods, diversity, versus like commercial would have like one crop, right? If you're looking at purpose and goal, it's a small ag lot in areas close to existing infrastructure, which it is, and that it provides opportunities for beneficiaries to live on and farm their lots at a smaller scale, right, in order to grow food for their home consumption. And if you have extra that you want to make some money off of, that's you can do that too. It basically frees up your food budget to buy other stuff because now you're growing it, and we all know how expensive produce is right now. Capital, minimal capital, and the tools. You're not going to go out and buy a bulldozer, right? That's not where the level is at. We're talking hand tools. Your labor is not you're not gonna hire labor. You're gonna have your family kukua the labor, right? It's a small lot. The time commitment, if you do this right, just a few hours. You just come watering your plants, basically, right? Um, it allows you to farm commercially if you want to, right? But basically, we just want you to use the land. It's just cultivation, basically. Um, Again, you can build a house. There's some housing types here. Um, and say if you get really good at it. Say you're doing your subsistence ag land and you're like, hey, I'm good at this. I got this thing going on. You can actually come back to the department and say, can I have a supplemental lot? Because I am going to go pursue commercial farming at that point. And at that point, you would be required to do the farm plan and the cultivation requirement. But there's a lot of farmers, Pana ewa, that have come back and have like multiple lots because they're that successful. So I think that was it. Oh, the next slide was about talking about our goals. Our goals is real simple. We just want you guys to be successful. That's all. We want to help you guys out. We want to see you guys thrive on the land. Yeah, not about cars and
to go to her
but cultivation.
dinner.
Okay,
How are
that's
you
me.
gonna go to the mall?
Sorry.
Aloha, I'm Kirsten Akahoshi. I am a junior extension agent with the College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, which is part of the University of Hawaii Manoa. And so I'm just gonna go through this really fast. So DHHL engages CTAR with a cooperative service agreement to provide agents to provide some technical assistance to the agricultural and pastoral homesteaders of Department of Hawaiian Homelands in specific areas. So currently there's myself in Hawaii County and Kyle Franks on Molokai. So usually the first question I get when I say anything like that is, what is cooperative extension? So I'm just gonna use the next few slides to quickly describe us with our elevator pitch. So cooperative extension is the outreach component of the University of Hawaii at Manoa's College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources. So we extend the practical applications of science to support local food systems, healthy living, youth development, and the stewardship of natural resources for future generations. We provide, and I think that's the next one, non-formal science-based education to enrich the lives and livelihoods of farmers, consumers, and families in Hawaii. And okay, so cooperative extension is a statewide program. We have extension agents and specialists located throughout the state. There are 29 off-campus facilities. That includes our research stations and our extension offices, which of course house our extension agents. Extension in Hawaii addresses high priority areas in agriculture, natural resources, and family and community extension. And okay, so this relationship allows us to leverage county, state, and even national resources because extension is a national program. So the best way I can describe how I can help you is to talk about what I am already doing. And first is I provide workshops. So these are group settings where people can do hands-on activities to learn specific topics. And next is, okay, so I also build relationships. So this one is I am engaging other extension agents within CTAR to provide workshops, and I also partner with them to access grants. I also engage external agencies such as the Hawaii Ant Lab and the USDA to provide workshops. And I also make sure that people on my list and all my clients are aware of any external events held by other agencies, just so they have that information. I also provide no-cost testing of soil and water. Unfortunately, not the soil right now. And for those who need more one-on-one assistance, I do provide one-on-one consultations for the individual assistance. This has included farm plans, pest and disease identification, and what was the last one? Oh, crop production management questions. And so for the Subsistence Agriculture Training Workshops, so this is the first time that they're providing the training before or right when people get these lots. So we have arranged to provide at least 3 workshops, which will cover topics including, building building a farm plan, which you don't need, but is also very helpful when you're developing your lot, just all this information that you could use. Let's see, we will cover, oh, okay, this is the next slide. It's all right, introduction to your lot. We'll cover some of the home gardening systems. These are all the options that'll kind of make it easier for you to get started in agriculture. And the third one will be based on feedback. So if there's anything specific you guys want covered, or any topics you feel we didn't go into deep enough. So we are guaranteeing at least 3, and if needed, we will hold more. And I believe that was it for me.
What I love about Kirsten is she's very excited about agriculture. It's contagious, right? And she'll get excited when you do a little bit, and she'll be happy for you, and that kind of person who got your back, basically, who's going to help you out. And she wants you to call her up with the questions that you have so that she can help you. That's how she knows what she can do. She makes herself available. She goes down and hangs out at that resiliency hub, right, with the other farmers. She hangs out so people can access her, and people know her, see her face, and know I can go up to her, ask her any kind of questions I'm having problems with our land. And a lot of times it's the same thing. If you're experiencing, your neighbor's experiencing, there's other people experiencing it. So that's when she does the workshops and addresses everybody one time. So that's a good thing, resource, because we don't have that added background. She does. That's where you're going to get that kind of assistance. The last thing, you got a big decision to make right now, right? Whether or not you want to be interested in taking a subsistence ag lot in Pana ewa or not. You guys on the ag wait list, you guys on the top of the ag wait list. So I wanted to let you know, because we're in the planning office, what other plans are in the hopper right now to happen. So what other ag awards is coming up? So we got Honolulu, that Honolulu area, we're going to be developing that. It's going to be like 375 lots eventually, but us, we go incrementally. So increment going to be 16 lots. It's smaller increments, that's the thing. We've got, so the Honolulu 2 phases is coming up, right? And so if you don't take here, then that would be the next place. We have some vacant lots that we're going to be awarding, so there's other opportunities, but the question is when exactly are those opportunities going to come about? So we're trying to give you an estimate of that. This is only 1/2 acre lots. When you're going to get to Honolulu, it'll probably be more like 1 acre lot. So that's kind of like the trade-offs, but I just figure it's good to see what's on deck. No promises on the actual date, but at least you can see these are coming up. And that's it.
Julie, testing. So I just wanted to insert some information. Thank you, Julie. That was very educational and helpful for everyone to see kind of where we've been and where we're going. But in terms of these time frames, I just want to put out a disclaimer, if you will, because people get really excited, and I understand it. I'm a beneficiary as well. But Julie is on the front end of the process in terms of planning. So there's a lot of work that happens between planning until it comes over to our side to actually offer the lots via a letter which you all received. So until you get that letter, that will be the definitive start dates. You'll get dates about the orientation, how many lots, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to insert that because we've had it before where people walk away and they think, oh, 2023, that's when we're getting the awards, right? So we hope that happens always sooner than later, but until you get that mailing, that's when we have on our side all of the details for the offering. Thank you. Nahasa? We're power with this one.
Aloha mai kako. Hey, aloha. Olua. My name is Aloha Kaikaina. I'm represent the Nahaza Division in the Department of Hawaiian Homelands. And we are a potential funding source for those who are interested later on in building a home there. Oh, you guys can hear him? Sorry, because he's also recording. I'm sorry. So the thing is on, yeah? So, sorry about that, everybody. So, you can start the slide, Michael. So, the NAHASDA, which stands, it's a congressional act as well. It is a Native American Housing Assistance and Self-Determination Act that happened back in 1996. In 2000, Native Hawaiians are added to this act, and this act helps address housing needs of Native Americans, Native Alaskans, and as well as Native Hawaiians. And these federal funds are administered to us and overseen by HUD, or Housing and Urban Development. To get to the next one. Our program provides these things. So I know a lot of you guys may go to the banks and you guys see commercials, you guys see all of what the conventional market offers people to get a home loan. Well, we offer these. There's no down payment, no closing costs, interest rate up to 1%. So a lot of you are looking at, is this for real? Yes, it is, but there has a lot of things that come with it. Financing up to the appraisal amount, similar to other lenders, and subsidy may be available depending if the participant completes all the necessary requirements that NAHASDA has for them, and then we can look and see, and we do it on a case-by-case basis per person. You can go to the next one. So overall, let's take a poll here while we got people in the crowd as well as people online. Kind of think about it. How many of you are thinking about putting a home on your ag land in here? Is anybody thinking about doing that? So we got 3, potentially more online. Well, this is a very, very good program. We've assisted families already through these type of funds. And we have requirements. The first requirement is that, are you income eligible? So this table here describes where you need to fall in Hawaii County. So if you take a look at this table, and we have some brochures in the back for you guys to take home with you later on today, that if we look perhaps at a household size of, maybe we get at least 4, 5, some of our families, yeah? So what it's saying is that for a household size of 4, the entire household income cannot exceed $90,550 in order to participate in our program. So this is purposeful because this graph here is stating that we are directing our services toward people who fall within 80% or below the area median income of each specific county. So these numbers that you see vary. Honolulu is different, Kauai is different, and Maui County is different, have different numbers depending on what is the area median income of that county. So household size, we'll ask you in the application, submit all types of documentation similar to going to any other bank, like tax returns, bank statements, pay stubs, social security forms, disability, all forms of income documentation so that we can verify this first. Yeah, labor requirements, we work alongside our land development division for labor compliance. We must qualify the contractor as well as utilize Davis-Bacon wage rates for us. It is something we must do, that HUD says that we must adhere to the Davis-Bacon wage rate as a labor cost when we do our construction projects. And there's a lot more, but as you guys get into this program, we'll inform you along the way. adequate insurance coverage in order to participate in our program. And once you have your new construction, you must have insurance. Your house must be insured throughout the length of the loan. That would be homeowners insurance as well as hurricane insurance. And housing counseling is a requirement upon receipt of our services, or potentially down in the future to receive it, you must attend our housing counseling services. Some people might say, hey, all these things I gotta do, but the potential is great. How many of you know of lenders out there that have no down payment costs? Raise your hand. Anybody out there not charging you closing costs? Anybody out there not charging you lender fees? And when we talk about contingency, usually in the fee simple market, while you're constructing, as the funds are being drawn down during construction, that person starts to pay towards that loan prior to the home being completed. So some families may face that they're currently renting and paying this simultaneously. So this program alleviates our beneficiaries from having to do that, where it behaves more like a turnkey, where at the end, where the loan is converted, you start to pay at that point. Once the house is completed, all the forms are brought in showing that you have the certificate of occupancy, notice of completion, then what we call convert that loan, and then we start payments thereafter. Now, who would want a 1% loan? Anybody interested? Raise your hand. Who would want a 1% loan in here? Okay, but there's a lot of things that, yes, even Michael, you see? So the thing is, we gotta do our kuleana. There's a lot of kuleana in this. This is not just something that'll drop into your lap. We have things that we must do. We have criteria. And the only reason why I am trying to tell you guys ahead of time is that there is a lot. I have a family in the house right now that I got to talk to that is starting to understand this process. So the further ahead that you get in this three-year, yeah, Julie, that you guys have to cultivate, perhaps within this 3 years is when you also are dedicating your time to building yourself, not only building the land, not only building homes, but building your financial health as well. So when you get to that point, we can help you get through it. So don't be discouraged or anything. Put this in plant the seed of thought of maybe perhaps being potentially a homeowner on these lands, wherever ones that you should take. This is my contact information. Please feel free. I believe this may be available later on. And mahalo nui kako for even participating and coming today, as well as the people online. Mahalo.
I'm sorry. If I can just add to that, Aloha, thank you very much for that information. Can you go back to the slide? The other one. Okay, so this is an awesome program, as Aloha shared, and there are benefits. And one of the best benefits of this program is these federal funds are only available to DHHL and our beneficiaries. But there are eligibility requirements. So yes, please work with Aloha on this, and the request needs to go through district office. We'll talk about that later. But if by chance this program, you were deemed ineligible for whatever reason, I don't want you to think that this is the only lending opportunity. You can go out to other lenders who provide construction loans. And it's a very short list, but we can address that if by chance Nahasa doesn't fit your household, that Aloha is going to work with you on, and she can also provide further information on that. I just didn't want you folks to think that if not this, then there's nothing. Yeah, go ahead, Aloha.
One more thing to add, thank you, Paula, is that when you guys are selecting whomever should select, at this very moment in time, our ability to finance this project is in process. There's certain environmental things that we must do, and we are doing it currently. It's definitely going to be before this 3-year, maybe potentially within at least a year or two, because those are some of the rules that we must follow, that HUD tells us to do, that we must do these environmental studies first before we move ahead. but this is in the near future. And mahalo nui, Paula, for sharing
Yeah.
the rest of that.
Yeah, no, that's great news. That is recent news.
Yes.
So that's coming through Nahasda that will provide you other funding opportunities. So that's a good reminder as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Aloha. And then just to relate this construction piece back to the administrative rule, which requires you to occupy within 3 years, right? So you don't have to like build right now. You can if you want to, but the occupancy is to use the lot for the ag that Julie talked about. You know, you want to go put plants, put some chickens, whatever. That's the occupancy requirement within the 3 years from the date of lot selection. But if you don't want to build until year 3, you can do that, right? So the occupancy is really important for that 3-year rule. Just wanted to point that out as well. So it's not like you have to build right away. Nina, successorship?
Kevelina, aloha. My name is Nina Fisher. I'm the manager for the East Hawaii District Office here. I was asked talk a little bit about successorship. I encourage all my leasees to put a successor on their lease and know exactly what that consists of. I'm going to talk a little bit after in regards to what is needed, such as a birth certificate, ID, and a social security. That is the conditions that is needed for a leasee to put a successor on their lease. I think it's very important that everyone knows, especially my new leasees, my potential new leasees that will be coming on board, to have. So then that way, you know, there's not too much pilikia in the family. With that being said, I'm not going to take away the time that is needed for you that came today to listen to this orientation in regards to our Pana ewa 185 lot selection. There was a lot of information that was just shared, and I want you all to know that you can call my office, to get those that spoke today, their contact numbers and their names. I know a lot of you, again, is excited to hear more about this offering, and I'm excited too. I'm hoping for an excellent turnout. And again, we have really great resources available for each one of you. I also wanted to introduce my assistant, Christina Tolentino, and she's standing in the back there. And I think it's important that everyone recognizes who we are. So if there is questions that you have, you can always call upon us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nina. Also wanted to stress the importance that Nina's talking about for successorship, because, you know, heaven forbid something should happen through the process. So we'll be conducting that activity for Nina and Christina to set up appointments for successorship right after you sign the lease with our team. I wanted to point out that one, if you don't name a successor, our process within the department is we have to go to public notice, which takes a minimum of 2 years. And it may not be the successor that you wanted to take over that lease. So I understand it's a heavy discussion to have with your family, but we always advise families that it's an important part of the process, because I don't think you want the department choosing your successor. You want to choose your successor. But if you don't, then it's on us to find that person. The other thing for the appointments, when you meet with Nina and Christina on July 29th, following July 29th, if you fail to bring any of the documents she mentioned, the photo ID, birth certificate, or social security, they cannot proceed, so they'll have to reschedule your appointment. Okay, thank you, Nina. Michelle? lot selection.
Aloha. I'm Michelle Hitzman. I work in the awards division under Paula Ayla. So as she mentioned earlier in the introduction, one of the first things you need to do is submit your response form, your interested response form by or on July 10th. So if you're mailing it in, it can be postmarked on July 10th and we'll accept that. So those that submit their interested form by July 10th, we'll send you a letter and you will be invited to the lot selection meeting, which is scheduled for July 29th. It'll be here in the same room. So that's the East Hawaii District Office. It'll start at 9 a.m. to about 2 o'clock p.m. So how we rank the selection order, if you will, is based on your original date of application, based on the 3 lists. Our first list is commission approved relocatee list. Then we go to the Pana ewa area ag list, and then the Hawaii island-wide ag list. So we sent about approximately 60 letters to 60 applicants, more than the 16 lots that we have available. So the day of lot selection, the items you'll need to bring, first and foremost, I guess, orientation meeting is optional. The lot selection, it is mandatory that you are present or you send someone with a notarized proxy, and they must bring that with them the day of lot selection. Please don't mail it to us or bring it to the district office. Get it signed, get it notarized, bring it with you that day. And then also the same day, you need to bring a valid government ID. So driver's license, military ID, state ID. What is important is we start at 9 o'clock a.m. Once we start calling the names, if you show up after your name is called, you'll be placed on the bottom of the selection list, and if there's any lots available, we'll call your name. So again, be sure to show up on time, ready to go, ready to select. We can move on. Next, please. Backup list. So again, I mentioned we mailed out to approximately 60 applicants. We have 16 lots. If for some reason you are invited to the lot selection meeting, but your name is not called, we put you on a backup list. And if any lots become available after that day, then we'll contact the applicants on the backup list based on their date of application. The list will expire once lots are all awarded. In this case, it's a little different than our past lot selection meetings, as the lease will actually be signed that day. So between the signing of the lease and maybe our commission approval and recording, if one of the applicants choose to opt out for whatever reason, then we may have a lot available. Just be assured that you will remain on your respective list based on your date of application. You're not going to go to the bottom if you've placed that you're interested. So if you're not interested, if after this meeting you put in an interested form and you decide, you know what, based on all the information I received today, I'm no longer interested, you can always send in a deferral form, and it will not hurt your position on the list. Again, you will remain on your respective list based on your date of application. So this is just kind of a visual showing you the process and the important dates. Today, July 8th, we're having an orientation meeting. Again, July 10th, we must receive your interested response form by that day. And Christina and Nina have been really helpful. So if you decide to bring it here and drop it off, they've been time-stamping it and getting it over to us in the awards division. And then July 29th, you'll be invited to our lot selection meeting. The process that day is if your name is called, you come up to the table, you select a lot. We'll send you over to our notary, and you'll actually sign your lease that day. So again, be sure to bring your valid government ID. And then you'll sit with Nina and Christina to make an appointment for the successorship. And then we'll also have Aloha here with Nahasda. So if you are interested in building a home on their lot, you can sit with her, and she has packets and she can set up appointments for you at that time as well. Or shoots. And then post lot selection, I apologize. Planning division, I think she had some dates up there for the agriculture workshops. And again, you can sit with Aloha for the NAHASDA information. That's it. So just again, reiterating, July 10th, response form, invitation only, July 29th, lot selection meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. So a lot of information today, and all of this work um, doesn't get done by one individual or one team. So it's important for me to always acknowledge all of the work and the hands that go into, and a lot of mana'o that go into preparing for this moment. And so I just want to acknowledge some folks are in the room, some folks are online, but I think I'm going to go a little bit out of order just so you get the process of how this comes to this moment. So for this particular sub-ag award, it started in the chairman's office by drafting administrative rules. And basically that's the guidance of the occupancy, so on and so forth, why these lots are different from the bigger farm lots. And so that's Hokule Lindsay, who I believe is online with us. And then from there, it goes into a combination of the land development and planning team. So on the planning team here, we have Julie Cacholo with us today, and her supervisors, Andrew Choi. So they really do a lot of the heavy lifting on the front end. Land development, which is Stuart Matsunaga, who is the acting administrator, working with Kelbert Yoshida on this particular project. They are the ones that go in. I mean, for any of us that were at the groundbreaking, it was just huge trees and bushes. And when you drive by today, it's like paved roads. I mean, the lots are beautiful. So that's the work that land development does. And that all takes years of planning. And then the supporting teams, if you will, to then take all of that work and bring it to this moment is, I want to mahalo my team. Of course, Michelle Hitzman is with us today. Moana Freitas couldn't make it, but they're working this particular project with me. Darlene Kennison and Callista Mitchell is another part of our support team in awards. Our contact center here is led by Deb Oliviato. And the reason they're really important, and her team, Kaui Cologne and Darlene Lacuna, is when we send out the mailings, the number that you dial into goes to that team. And they're able to answer a lot of questions that are in the packet before it comes to my awards team. So that's how we work hand in hand. So, and then we work closely with Nina and Christina in East Hawaii District Office, but they also are kind of threaded through with all these other teams because they're the office on island in this district. So Nina and Christina, I want to mahalo them as well because they've kind of lived this project over the course of a few years, working with different branches in the agency. And then I would be greatly remiss if I don't always acknowledge the Information and Community Relations team, which is Diamond Badajos, who's in the back. She's our new ICRA officer. And Kelly Yoshizaki is the clerical for that team. But Michael Lowe, who is sitting here, Mr. DJ, is they're just an imperative part of all the work that we do, because the sound that you get and the screen and just all the logistics to get online is, I certainly am not that person to do it. So I want to mahalo them as well. But in totality, this is the village that brought this particular offering to our beneficiaries. And we are very, very excited for this moment because it's taken years for the village to bring this to your doorstep. So we hope that the information has been relevant and helps you to make your decision in this particular offering. And I just want to mahalo everyone here and online. And with that, we are honored to do this work on behalf of Prince Kuhio and all of you. And I will open it up for question and answers. I'm sorry, Nahasda, did I aloha you as well? Nahasda team? Okay, I want to make sure I don't miss anyone. And Kirsten in the back, our partner at CTAR. Kaui, aloha? Yes. That's an administrative, Michelle, we were just talking about this. You wanna? And Michael, while Michelle's coming up, can you just give instructions to the people online on how to raise their hand? Can?
Okay, for those of you who are tuning in online, if you look at the reactions, if you click on the reactions, there is a raise hand. So all you got to do is click the raise hand. We'll see it here, and we'll be able to pick you, and you can go ahead and ask your question at that time. The other option is you can also put your questions in the chat, as we will go through all the chat questions this morning. Okay, so either raise your hand or go into the chat and leave your questions there, and we will take a look at them. Mahalo.
So for this subsistence, oh, go ahead. So I'm sorry. So the question is, if you are living on Oahu, or if you're living on another island, are you able? Okay. So for subsistence ag, the rules, if you will, is you have to at least cultivate, right, within 3 years. If, so go ahead. So you have to, okay, well then, because I got an AG opinion, but maybe you want to respond to this? Okay, yeah, come. Or is hopefully on.
It depends what list you're on, because when you signed up, like you signed up for an island, right? So you can live on Oahu, but you're on Big Island Ag List, right? That's how you would do it. But for this program, 3 years you got to move to Big Island, and 3 years you got to put something, cultivate the land. That's the requirement. So you have 3 years to make that transition.
So yes, they can.
Yeah.
They can accept, but they have to move it in.
Yeah. When I looked at the list, you got people from the mainland, living in the mainland. About half of them are on Oahu. So, and half of them are on Big Island already. So those people would have to move within 3 years.
Yeah, and I think on the residential side, sorry. So with Aloha helping you, if for some reason you have a residential lease, because we do have some of our lessees that have residential leases, if you choose to build a house on your Pana ewa lot, then you would need to transfer that residential lease. You cannot have two residents on properties, yeah, like res ag, res pastoral. Does that help?
Thank you, Michelle and Julie. Other questions? Ask now. Yes, Stuart, come on up. Stuart is our acting administrator for Land Development Division.
Aloha. One of the things I wanted to point out about, there's this 3-year cultivation requirement, okay? But, you're gonna be signing your leases. So you're gonna have kuleana with your lot. And you cannot just, like, let's say if you're on Oahu or something, just let them go for 3 years and all that albizia and whatever else is gonna grow. So you're going to be responsible for taking care of malama that lot, yeah? And so I just wanted to point that out.
So I see that the lots, they're all graded down and stuff is starting to grow back. So once you get awarded, you gotta go clear new stuff.
That is correct.
Okay,
So
I'm sorry.
in 3 weeks.
Please repeat the question because the people online cannot hear the question. So the question was, the lots are currently cleared.
Yeah, they got stuff growing on.
Right, but they have stuff growing on them. Is the lessee required to clear that?
So the question is, sorry.
Yes.
What is
Use the microphone.
The question is, for those online, what is the kuleana once you sign your 99-year lease that Stuart's addressing?
Okay.
Yes. So the answer to that is it is your kuleana, whoever the lessee is, to then maintain the lot from July 29th going forward. Okay, so I'm not sure how much it's going to grow in the next 3 weeks, but be ready. Okay, so you know. That's a great question. The question was, what is the kuleana for other existing homestead lots? And it is, you're correct, it is the kuleana of existing lessees to maintain their lot. So that is another issue that the department has to deal with in terms of enforcement and compliance. And so that's something that we can take back to the new administration and the commission. Right now, you know that we are very, very short on our enforcement team. We have one person. So appreciate you bringing that up, and that it'll be so noted in the minutes of this meeting. Mahalo.
So one more question about, so if you clear the land then, if your kuleana is clear, you clear it, can you then fence it? Because we go plant something and you don't fence it.
Question is, once you get your lot, are you able to fence the property? And yes, you may. This morning, Calbert and I went out there and we checked the property pins. We made markings on the pavement so you know where the corner pin is. When you get your lease, you'll also have the meets and bounds, all the surveyed points for that. So you can then, go out and put a fence, put a wall. There are easements that you have to be aware of where you may not be able to do that, but you should be able to fence along your boundary. Just make sure you choose the right pin. Good. And Nina reminded me that there is a request for improvements form that you need to submit to the district office, to Nina's office. And if there are structures, then Nina will ask Land Development Division to review it. And so Land Development Division, we're more concerned about the land, not so much the building elements of the structure, and that's where the county permitting process comes in. Okay.
You have to get a county permit to put up a fence.
Question is whether you need a county permit to put up a fence. I believe it depends on what kind of fence you will be putting up. The height, I mean, if it's walls, things like that, there are different requirements for permitting. So the main thing is that you can work with your contractor or with the county in terms of what is actually required. Mahalo. Good luck.
I have a question online.
Yeah, we have a question
Thank you,
online.
Stuart.
Daisha, go ahead and ask your question.
Hold on one
Or
second.
hold on one
Michael.
second, Daisha, please.
I just want to reiterate the fact that this is a completely new way we're doing these awards. There's no span of time between like orientation, lot selection, and build because there's no financial requirement, just occupancy. So that's why we're going to do the lease signing on July 29th. And to Stuart's point and others, that's where the kuleana, your kuleana begins to malama that aina. Yeah, so I just want to restate that this one is different and we're taking the action, do the leases, get them in your hands, and that's the Kuleana clock that starts. Sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Okay, thanks very much for waiting, Daisha. Go ahead with your question, please.
Okay, so I'm asking for my dad. He doesn't like tech stuff, but so he currently has home in Kilkaha, and if he wanted to accept the offer, can he sign over that lot to a successor but still maintain his current home?
Nina. Nina's district office manager said yes.
Yes, I just wanted to make sure because I got to be clear with how I communicate to him so that he can hear the right information. Mahalo.
Yeah, but along those lines, if there's a transfer request, that would go through district office with Nina and Christina.
Mahalo.
You're welcome. Mahalo. Other questions? Yes.
Based on all the information that was given today, awards will be given according to your standard on the list.
We will rank the 3 lists. So there's
Question.
2.
Ask the question.
I'm sorry. The gentleman is asking about the ranking of the lot selection on July 29, correct? Is that correct?
You are on the list
Correct.
based on the 16 lots.
Right. Based on where you are on the 60 that we sent out, right? So just from a process, so the question has to do with ranking, but also the day of lot selection. I'm translating what your question is, because for me, it's a process question, right? So the process that we go through on awards is after the 60 mailing, we get the interest forms, as I stated at the beginning. The interest form is the list that will invite to lot selection. So let's just say it's 20 of the 60, hypothetically, right? Let's say 20 people send in their forms on time, is postmarked by July 10th. So we're gonna just invite those 20 people to lot selection. Once we have that list, then we'll rank them based on which list they fall on first. So as example, the relocating list has 2 people that if they send in their response form, they will get first selection. The next order would be the Pana Ewa area ag list, which has 16 people on that list. If not all 16 show up, maybe 8 show up, they will go next. And then the final list is the island-wide ag list of applicants. So that's the pecking order, and no matter which list you derived from, it's by your application date. Yes, yes. And the relocatee, the 2 relocatees were approved by the commission to relocate years ago. So that's why they go first, because they weren't able to use their lot and their lease. Thank you for the question. Anyone
We
else?
have another question online. Kiana, go ahead and unmute and ask your question, please.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to question, we live in Oahu, we're on a residential lease on Hawaiian Home, and now this opportunity of this ag land, does it require us, is it mandatory to build a hale to become a resident on the Big Island, or can we treat it as is as an ag land? Is it mandatory to build a hale on ag land?
So it's not mandatory to build on this sub-ag lot, but you still have to malama that lot. So if you're on Oahu, I think the question for you would be, how do I malama my sub-ag lot when I'm living on Oahu, right? So that's something that your family has to come to terms with, because you do have to occupy within 3 years, but starting July 29th, your kuleana starts, right? So if you're living on Oahu, are you gonna travel back and forth to malama your sub-ag lot? If at some point in time in the next 3 years, You're not required to build, but let's just say in the next 3 years, you decide you do want to build, then you're going to have to release your lease on Oahu, your res lease on Oahu, because you cannot hold 2 residential leases, based on what Michelle was sharing earlier. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I just wanted to be sure that having this opportunity will be allowed even if you already have a residential on Oahu. So the time frame is 3 years, and do you require a spontaneous transfer to a successor?
Well, once you sign the lease and it's approved by the commission, which will be after July 29th, then you can entertain a transfer. And that request would go again to East Hawaii District Office.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions?
Yes, we have questions online from the chat. So I'm going to start from the very beginning. For those of you who put questions on the chat, thank you so very much. So we'll go through each one of them. Okay, the first question comes from Florence. Actually, Florence has a lot of questions. So we'll start with this one. The first question is there county sewer lines, or do we need to install septic tanks if we want to build a home?
Calbert? According to Calbert, who is land development, there's septic tanks on each lot. Oh, in order to, when you build, why don't you come up and answer?
Hi, thank you for the question. Yeah, there's no sewer lines. You would have to install your own septic system.
Okay, very good. Thank you. This next question, or I think it's a series of questions. This is for you, Aloha. How often does the income for Nahasda change? That's the first question. Thank you, Florence, again for all these questions. Good question.
Florence, yeah. Hi, aloha, Florence. The income, which are HUD established income limits, change on an annual basis.
Okay, great. Next question. Does Nahasda pay to clear the lot and for septic tank?
Usually the septic tank is part of the build, so it can be included in the build. What's the first part of it again? The septic tank and the clearing of the lot. Well, we would affect things that are happening while the thing is under construction. So there is part of it as it's laid out in the construction. If that's part of what's going to happen for your construction project, it can be incorporated into the cost. What else?
Part of the question, if I'm hearing it, is let's just say over the next 3 years, will Nahasda finance maintaining the lot with no construction?
I don't think that we are able to touch the lot until the actual construction, if they do construction. So I believe, yeah, if they're planning on utilizing the Nahasda funds just to clear a lot, it has to be connected to that construction of the lot.
Okay.
Any more for
Okay.
me? Anything? Question? I think what is clear is what is necessary for the overall construction of the home. So the question was, if when we clear, if we're clearing the entire lot, I think it depends on the way of the build, what's necessary, and that area is addressed only because I believe it's not often it will have a half-acre size home. So I understand the question that you're asking. So I think it's for the area of concern and what is part of the build.
Okay.
Any other Nahasda questions?
Next Nahasda
that's
question.
for me too. Okay.
So,
I'm sorry. Albert,
you want to?
Just some other information. It's going to be hard to build a half-acre lot or a home because that's going to intervene with the rules of sub-ag, right? You have to do some subsistence ag. So if the house taking the whole lot, how are you going to do subsistence, which is the point of this type of lot? Thank you, Albert.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Again, this is a Nahasda question. If we get financial help from Nahasda, do we have to pay it back? And then how much and how long?
Wow, you guys are on it this morning. Can we go back to the question so I can just read it on the screen? Do you have to pay it back? Well, it's a loan, so it's part of you're going to be paying back the loan anyhow, right? And there's different parts of it that I don't know if I can literally go way into detail over it, but Nahasda offers different things and they apply differently to different people. So as we mentioned earlier, there's a possibility of subsidy, for instance. In that subsidy, we're basically trying to do what we call gap funding, to try and get people over that line to be able to qualify. And when we're talking about payback, outside of what is actually owed and what we call an installment, it all depends on the situation. We have what we call lease addendum that triggers when anyone is going through perhaps like a successorship or transfer, and we have to take the situation at the time, depending on how many years or how long this loan has been in place, in order for the answer to reveal itself. So it's a very difficult question to answer, because it's really directed relatively to the specific situation at the time. So there's a million scenarios that could come of it, but mainly there is possibility, depending on how it is, that some people may have to pay it back, whether it's like during a transfer, or somebody may be transferring, they might need to be leaving and they need to sell the home to a qualified beneficiary. There are certain things I'm not trying to avoid answering. It's just that it was really relative to what's going on at the time, but there is a potential for some of these funds to have to be paid back. And that we can get into if you guys are part of it. That's part of the learning and being in this process that will explain this to you if you are part of the process as to how this works and why. I hope I answered as much as I could for that person.
All right. Thank you, Aloha.
And housing counseling. So
Yep.
I see that the question is the housing counseling in person or can it be on the phone? We have housing counseling vendors that offer multiple options according to what the participant can do. So we may have kupuna who are not tech savvy, who do not want to do things like virtual. They can provide phone services. Our provider provides it via Zoom, Teams as well. So you can do housing counseling literally from the comfort of your home. And some of the places, depending on where you are, they may offer the opportunity to do even in-person counseling.
All right. Thank you so much. More questions. How long does a Nahasda home take to build?
That all depends on the path in which the person takes. So if someone chooses a private contractor, for instance, and it's to the speed of the contractor, the way they build, we are subject to the same things that any other person is subjected to, such as permitting, having to do construction documents. So we don't hold all the pieces in the process. And if some people are familiar with the permitting processes now, it could be lengthy, it could be quick. So having a definite length of time as to when that can be finished could depend on many different factors. I mean, you may be working with maybe a Habitat affiliate, and they have a certain type of build schedule that they do. Some of them do, they only build on weekends, so that may affect the schedule to people who have private contractors that are building their homes every day of the week. So it could vary is the overall question, answer, I mean.
Great. Do you have a list of lenders for the construction loans?
We do not. That would be considered steering, if you will. So it's really approved lenders that we work, construction, that it's really your choosing when you're doing a construction build on your own. You choose your contractor, you choose whether you want to work with like a package home builder, HPM right up the road, Hansador, or a private contractor, or maybe you have someone in your family that's a general licensed contractor. Bonding is really important because that's basically the insurance for the job in case something were to happen. So that's all of the construction process, but we leave that to you folks to decide. In this case, once you go submit your request to the East Hawaii District Office, that kind of starts the process on what type of construction you're planning to do. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, thanks. Next question. Is there a checklist that DHHL can provide if you want to build a home?
No, we don't. And part of the reason is the liability is contractual between you as individuals and your contractor. So every contractor is different. So we don't opine on, here's your checklist, and that it ends up being not for this contractor. So that's where you are project managing your construction and asking those questions of your contractor. Okay, what is the list of things that need to be done? And it's a very valid question. So don't be shy about asking your contractor those types of questions because you're paying them to ultimately put you in that home.
Okay.
With regard to Nahasda, there are some things that need to be done, such as the compliance of our contractors that we help and aid through our land development division. And so, for the list of contractors, with that in mind, they need to acquire a certain type of compliance in order to do NAHASDA funded projects. And our land development division staff can help to maneuver interested contractors, because contractors may not have this compliance to begin with, but they can become compliant, and we can help them in that process. And we too don't have a list of contractors because people can become compliant. Some people are already, and it's really about the freedom of all of you, the lessees, to be able to choose who you'd like to have as your contractor.
Okay, thank you. Is Nina still in the room? She just left. Okay, well, perhaps somebody can answer this question. You want to try?
I'm sorry, Kalamai. To Aloha, what she just shared, Michelle, HPM has bonding here? Okay, okay. So I just wanted to address that because some builders, if they don't use a package home like HPM or Hansador, they have bonding built into their pricing. If you decide to go off on your own, then you have to purchase your own bonding, and that can cost, I think, it's a percentage. We don't have an absolute number, but it would be a separate cost if you went out on your own versus working with a package home builder. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. The next question, for successor photo, is a copy of a driver's license, military ID sufficient?
Christina, thumbs up, yes.
Okay, the answer
That's
is
valid.
yes. Okay, perfect, thank you. Next question, can we get a copy of the slideshow emailed to us?
It will be up on our website. Thank you for the reminder. We'll be posting it on dhhl.hawaii.gov. And if you go to the tabs at the very top, it says lot and offers. That's where everything is housed now, all the mailings that you got, all of the plans, so on and so forth. So after today, probably early next week, this will be posted onto that page as well. And we also recorded. Thank you, Michael. I think we started off recording from Calbert, which was at the very front end of the discussion.
Okay, this is a question from Desha. I think it might have been addressed, but I'm going to ask it anyway just to make sure. Just wanted to confirm, I can accept the offer for the agriculture lot and confirm a successor for that lot without having to give up my current lot.
The ag lot.
Let me repeat the question. Just wanted to confirm, I can accept the offer for the agriculture lot and confirm a successor for that lot without having to give up my current lot.
Is it a residential? So the question would be, if it's a residential lot, you don't have to give up that lot, but you are obligated to malama the sub-ag lot in Pana ewa once you take that. Because if you don't, that would be a violation of that 99-year lease. And you can name a successor for that lot.
Okay.
So I think just to go into more detail, I guess, based on that question. So yes, you can accept, if you have a residential lease, you can accept this agricultural lease and then transfer, I think is what they're asking, right? If you can transfer, you can then transfer that lease to your beneficiary, right? But to Paula's point, that individual that you're transferring to, that lessee now is obligated to the administrative rules, right?
Okay. Thank you. So I think we've confirmed this next question. Can I have a residential lease on Oahu and this agricultural lot? I think we've already covered that.
Yes.
So, okay.
Hold on.
Yes.
Kalamai, uncle?
I'm confused with that transfer of the lease. A person with a resident can get an ag lot if you don't build on the ag lot. But the person on a residential lease can get an ag lot and then give it to his successor now?
They can transfer it.
They can transfer it?
Yes.
And does the successor have to be 50%?
Once they receive the lease, no, 25% or more.
I would beg to differ.
Okay.
And please, so what we're saying, a residential lessee can qualify to get an agricultural lease, then take that agricultural lease now, transfer it to a 25% to have a 99-year lease after that?
Well, Uncle Pat, you would know probably better than me. So no. So my answer is currently today, like let's use me as an example. If I got a 99-year lease, irrelevant of residential or ag, I can then transfer, like say to my child, who is 37.5. Is that the question?
That's the question.
Okay.
That's the question.
Okay.
Can you transfer it now while you're still alive?
Yes.
Can you transfer it when you're still alive to someone who's 25%?
Yes. Well, you,
The successor cannot build because the lease
Because
went to
defeating the
somebody
purpose
with
of
a resident.
successorship.
okay, hold on. So if I'm understanding your question, I'm hearing it as a transfer. That's the first part, right? Can I transfer my 99-year lease to someone 25% or more? My response is yes, right? I don't think I'm understanding the second part of your question.
I'm sorry. The person who gets the lease right now.
As a transferee
The person who gets
today.
We're here today trying to
Okay,
get
on July 29th.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
On the 29th.
Okay.
We all have a residence somewhere else. We're now going to get our ag lot.
Correct.
So I'm going to stay on my residence. I'm not going to give it up. And I can do that. One way is keep my ag and don't build on my ag.
Correct.
I can keep the boat.
Correct.
But what I'm hearing you say, you can keep your residential, you transfer the ag now to someone less than 50%. That's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
And now you're telling me, so that in essence would then say that the person you transfer to gets a 99-year lease and he's only 25%. That's why I'm asking clarification, because if the department is now saying you can transfer to a 25% for 99-year lease, I'm on the premise lessee's gotta be 50%. And then the 25% are those in successorship after the parent who dies. The lessee, that's 209. That's the successorship. I'm confused.
Right. So I think, and maybe I misunderstood the second part of that question. Successorship is different from transfer, right? Right. So, so the transfer.
Remember, you're using the term successor now.
Right. So successorship, I think the point of the exercise today was to help beneficiaries to understand how important the successorship part is. Okay. So I think where we're not aligned is that successorship piece is different from maybe from a transfer, right? That successor may be the one that they want to transfer to, right?
Well, I would say if that is the case, fine. However,
Right.
whoever you transfer it to,
Yes.
remember the lessee, the first guy had to be the 50% who's on the
Right.
list right now saying, I have a residential, I like egg.
Right.
So brother can get two
Right.
right now. He keeps two of them if he does not build on the egg.
Right.
Okay? Should he build on the egg, he needs to then give up the residential.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's understandable. But what I'm hearing you say is that brother can keep his residential, get the egg, and transfer it to a 25%er.
Correct. But it would be for the remainder of that lease. So,
But he gave him a 99-year lease. So what is
right.
the remainder of that?
So what is your, I want to hear what you think it is, because obviously I'm not responding.
Okay, that's why I need clarification from the department.
Okay.
Because there is, the act says this.
Right.
You get agriculture and residential. For this purpose, we just stay with those two because
Right.
you can have both.
Right.
As long as you build on the other one. You only get one house. You only get one
Only
house.
one.
You cannot build two places.
One.
Okay?
Yes.
So now, that's the exercise I'm trying to clear with what I'm hearing from the department. Is that I will keep my house now, because I think there was a valid question here, right? The first one. I'm going to keep my house. I'm going to get the egg, because I qualified to get the egg. I will transfer the egg now to someone who's less than 50%.
But it has to be only certain relationships. It cannot be any conflict.
Okay? If that's, please, then that's the clarification I want. I don't like the discussion here. I want a clarification somewhere from the department in the future to say, just as Julie said, if you agree with Julie, because I disagree with Julie, but you guys are saying Julie is correct, fine. And then my other question is, what's the definition?
Okay, I'm sorry. No, no, Uncle, if I can just have Julie respond on the mic so the folks at home can hear. And then we can go through.
You can have two leases, ag and residential, but you can only have one house. Okay? You can transfer either lease, right? Like say you build two houses. Now you got a problem because you can only have one.
Yeah, but
So
we only get one house. Let's
okay.
talk about that.
Okay.
Get two houses.
So you don't need to transfer. You can have both. It's when you got two houses, you got a problem because you can only have one, so you're going to get rid of one. And that transfer can only happen to certain relationships. So it's my kid, it's my grandkid, it's my spouse, this way on the line. You know, there's only certain relationships that the transfer can happen
For the
to.
sake of this discussion, it's not two. We got one egg, one residential. How can you transfer that residential one? I won't live in it. I will stay there. But now I got this egg. Can I transfer that 99-year lease to someone less than 50%? That's my question.
Julie, can I just repeat it in another way? Can you list the eligibility for who can qualify for a transfer?
Yeah.
Who's eligible to receive a transfer?
Yeah.
You can name them, you can put them on the lease. But you said right now, we can give that 99-year lease to the person.
Yeah.
That falls into successorship.
Successorship is when you die.
That's right. To all
That
right.
that's the
I don't know
difference.
what section you guys are saying.
Yeah, that's the
that
difference.
belongs. That's
Okay.
what I don't know.
So we need to do this. We need to have a clear statement of what sections pertain to successors and transfers, when you can, and what the relationships are.
Thank you, Julie. Oh, be careful. So,
And then just ending that follow-up, what's the definition between subsistence and ag?
right. So on the slides early on, the administrative rules, that would be the definition of this new type of ag, if you will. It's under that agriculture umbrella, right? So
What's the department's definition? I see what you said, Julie. Maybe you can answer. What's the definition between the subsistence ag? Ask this question.
What is the definition or the difference between subsistence ag and a regular ag lease? Okay, so subsistence is less than 3 acres. It's the size of lot is different. Ag lease, you're gonna have a bigger lot. It can go up to 40 acres, right? There's for regular ag lot, there's a requirement that you have to submit a farm plan and that you have to cultivate at least 2/3 of your lot. With subsistence ag, it's less than 3 acres. You don't have to file a farm plan. You don't have to have that 2/3 requirement. However, you have a requirement for cultivation, right? You have to cultivate something. And so this is why we're trying to hook up the ag assistance programs closer so that we can help to make sure that the cultivation is not just one tree kind and I'm cultivating. No.
That answer was asked before, and the answer you gave or was given was that you need to cultivate 2/3.
No,
that's what the answer was then. The answer was given to someone who asked it. That's all I'm saying. I'm confusing.
I'm sorry if I confused.
Regular ag, you gotta do 2/3.
You gotta do
cultivation.
2/3, yeah.
Because if you took 2/3 of what's the acreage of this place?
This one is only half acre.
Half an acre, 2/3 of that. You don't know place to put one house.
Yeah. And I looked. We had that slide on what is subsistence, but it's really asking the question. It's not like what am I going to grow to make money. The question is, what am I going to grow to feed my family? What do we like to eat that we can grow? But that's
go back on that. No say make income anyway. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. So I think the response was.
Ask the question first, please, so that the people online can.
I don't know if I can repeat the question. You want to repeat the question? It has to go back with successorship and can they have 2 lots and build? Right. The same person, the same person cannot build on 2 different lots, right? You'd have to transfer. Commissioner, you have a question?
No, I think she's asking if, like in this example, Uncle Pat gets his residential lot, then he gets an ag lot. She's asking if we can have successors because successors don't vote.
Oh.
And the answer should be yes.
Yeah, so the answer is yes. I'm looking at East Hawaii District Office because they handle successorship. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The answer is yes.
Okay.
Other questions?
Yes, we have more questions. For those of you online, thank you so very much for your patience. Questions have turned into a bit of discussion here, and we know that you cannot hear it all online. So we do appreciate your patience. But we're going to move on with some additional questions from the chat. This one is aloha. Apologies, I may have missed. Who do we contact to know what number on the list of 60 we are?
That would be the awards division. So you can email myself or Michelle Hitzman or call 620-9500 and let them know you're calling about the Pana ewa offering. Yes, but as we stated earlier, we won't know that final list until after July 10th.
Okay.
When we get all the responses, once we get all the responses, then in discussion with Michelle, awards can get those invitation letters out probably by next Friday, the 14th. So you know to plan to be here for that lot selection, or if you're gonna send a proxy, that proxy needs to have that notarized proxy, and the form will be in the letter. And again, they need to bring that form to the meeting, not send it to us, not drop it off at East Hawaii. And if you don't have that proxy, we won't be able to allow you to proceed. So it's really, really important.
Okay.
808-620-9500 and ask for the Pana ewa offering.
So I guess it wasn't it was a question, a statement. So they was asking, normal process, we do lot selection and lease signing another day, right? So when you bring a proxy, it's just meant for the purpose of selecting the lot, not for signing the lease, right? So if by chance you bring a proxy, or maybe, give us a call and we can kind of talk through your situation. If you are unable to attend that day, you send a proxy, then we can talk about scheduling some time for you to come, the lessee the actual applicant to come and sign the lease. Okay, so that's clear?
Okay, great, thank you. The next question from the chat. This is a really good question. Are there any CC&Rs for this area or additional rules on fence height, house design, etc.?
There is no CCCNRs. However, the lease addendum does stipulate certain things in there, like I think we addressed the height requirement for that area, but that's something that we'll go over should you obtain a lease on July 29th. There are stipulations about that.
Okay, great. So the next question, so the lots are not already cleared? No, they are cleared. But this is Hilo, and vegetation grows fast, so, it's good. You got to get out there, and once you get awarded your lot, you better get out there with one weed eater, because you're going to need one. That's kidding. But no, the lots are already cleared at this point. Okay. Let's see. Another question. Can DHHL provide construction loans? If so, who do we contact at DHHL for the construction loans?
Separate from NAHASDA, Michelle, you want to talk about direct loans, construction loans? They're asking about other DHHL construction loans.
Well, as Paula mentioned earlier, there are other options, right? There's different options. There are some lenders that do construction loans that are just straight one-step construction loans. There's other lenders that just do the takeout, right? So you work with somebody like a CNHA or HCL to do the interim construction loan, and then you work with any FHA lender. So they must be an FHA approved lender that can do the takeout of the loan. So again, it's if we do get to the point where you want to build a home, then we can kind of go into more detail and maybe assist through either NAHASDA, get you connected with NAHASDA, or some of our DHL loan officers, and then we can kind of go more into detail about those options. And for direct loans, correct, DHL direct loans, we can kind of give you guys more options for you all. Oh, so you're talking about DHL direct loans? Like what is to get denied? So yes, DHL does have construction loans, if that's what the question is. If does DHL have direct construction loans. But again, there are requirements. So if DHL direct construction loan is an option for you, then as with any other type of loan, there are requirements that you must meet in order to obtain that loan. Answer the question? Sorry, I was answering another question.
Thanks, Michelle. We have about a few minutes left, Michael.
Yep, and that concludes the question. Oh, there's a new message that just came through, a new question on the chat. Stand by one moment, please. Okay, it says, I was late to the call. Did you cover if the lots have water and electric available? So the answer to that question is yes, there is water and electric infrastructure in place, as well as a nicely paved road.
Thank you, Aloha. Okay, I think that's it. Any other questions in the room? Staff, do you want to address anything else that we didn't cover? We're good?
Are there any more questions online? Ooh, I see a hand raised. Kiana just raised her hand. Kiana, please unmute and ask your question, please.
I wanted to know that since we are already existing in a residential Hawaiian home lease, the documents required at this on the 29th, since those documents are already on file, is there a way that we can use that verification? Or do we have to go and repeat our efforts to get original documentation for proof on the 29th?
As far as lot selection?
Yes.
Successorship. Christina, can they use copies on file? Okay, so the response is that you would bring in new identification when you meet with the East Hawaii District Office about successorship.
So not successorship, talking about becoming a lease.
The lot selection.
The lot selection, you guys are requiring certain documents that is already existing in our Hawaiian homes file for the resident that we live in.
Yeah, so for the lot, so to select the lot, we just ask that you bring your photo ID, and that's what you'll need to sign the
You have to bring
lease,
another one,
a
Mom.
valid photo ID to sign the lease. So I think
But the reason I'm asking this question particularly, some of the documents that you're asking for originally is already on file. And of course, bringing an ID to verify your identification on lot selection. The other items that I'm talking about is the social security card original and the birth certificate that you guys are requiring for lot selection.
Yeah, so that is for successorship. In that case, I think the day of lot selection, you can actually just make an appointment. You don't necessarily need to bring it that day. What you're gonna do is you're gonna make an appointment with East Hawaii District Office for the successorship, and then at that time, they'll require you to bring those documents.
I'm sorry, you keep using the term successorship. If I have the opportunity to get a lot selection, will I have to provide you with those documents other than my government ID? Since it's already been verified
So
while I was given the lease for residential.
Sure. So for the day of lot selection, to sign the lease, we will just need your valid government ID.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we're gonna wrap it up. I want to mahalo everyone who came today on a Saturday, taking time out of your busy schedules and online. Thank you very much for joining as well. Please, last reminder, if you're interested, to send your response forms by Monday, and it must be postmarked Monday. Mail that in, and then we'll go through all of those forms, derive a list for the invitees for the lot selection on July 29th. So please put that on your calendar if you get one of those letters. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff, for everything. Commissioner, thank you for joining us. Aloha.